Welcome to my channel. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. We're currently working in C#, but everything we do here can be done in Java, Python, and virtually any programming language, as you'll soon discover. Today I want to cover the Listbox. I know that the Listbox doesn't sound like a decision tool, but it is. The Listbox is basically an object that displays more than one item. It's like a super label in a way. In other words, a collection of items can be displayed at once. If the collection is too large to display in its entirety, a scroll bar automatically appears, allowing you to navigate up and down through the list. What makes this a decision tool is that the user can click on any item in the list, and based on that item clicked, an action can be performed. This is, of course, something the programmer sets up. Let's break this down. The Listbox has a number of properties. We're just going to take a look at the introduction Listbox to see what it can be used for as far as decision-making purposes are concerned. It's nothing more than a little box that looks like a label, except larger. Listbox display is a list of items and allows the user to select an item from the list. In C#, you can use the Listbox to control to create a Listbox. Properties are there's a text, which gets or searches for the property of the current selected item in the list box. There's items, which gets the items of the list box. There's a selected item, which gets or sets the currently selected item in the list box. When the user searches an item, the item is stored in this property. You can use the following to get the selected item from list box, and that code is like selected fruit equals whatever the name of the list box is, fruit list box dot selected item to string. That's going to convert whatever item is selected and put it in the variable selected fruit. Selected index gets or sets a zero-based index of the currently selected item in the list box. Sounds all a little confusing at first. It's not really. You really need to see it and kind of get your hands around this to really look at it. The select item, for example, an exception will occur if you try to get the value of the list box's selected item when no item is selected. So you check for something, and you can check for that by basically looking at what the index is. We're going to look at that in a second here. Items in a list box have an index starting with 0. The first item has index 0. The nth item, or it keeps on going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes on and on going forward. So it's, once again, in computers, the number system starts at 0. If you have 10 things, it's 0 through 9. So the selected property keeps the index. If no item is selected, the value of the selected index is -1. So -1 means nothing has been found. This all sounds like craziness right now. I mean, it's kind of confusing. The following is an example using the selected index property to make sure the item is selected before the value is gotten from the select item. If fruitbox.selected item is not equal to -1, do something. In other words, you found something in there. Yeah, let's take a look at a picture of this and see how this looks like. I took a spreadsheet and kind of gave you a look at what the list box might look like if you're looking at a memory to see what it contains. And you see that the list box item is going to sit here. Here's a bunch of movies: Billy the Kid, the Bishop murder case, the Bishop's wife, the Black Book, so on down the line. And as they're stored in the list box, in the item property, an index is applied to them. So the very first one is called item 0. Item 1 is the second one. Item 2 is the third, and so on down the line. So they all get this index assigned to them. So if you find that there's not a positive number, or it's a -1, then you have nothing in the list box. It's actually wiped clean. It's virtually nothing there. However, if you click on any one of these things, the black sleeve, the black hole, whatever, click on the blackboard jungle, for example. If I click on this piece right here, the 8 will appear, so I'll know that item 8 has been selected, and I can take action based on that index number that's showing. Also, there's a scroll bar along the side here, which will make you see something that allow you to scroll through if the list box gets very, very large. And it can get very large. You can put hundreds of items into the list box and go from there. So that's what a list box is. It's an object on the form that can be sized, where you're only seeing a couple of things. But you can scroll through it and look at all those items. So essentially, the list box has a bunch of items in it. Each item is assigned an index. Therefore, in code, we can use the index to get at individual items. That's the theory. Now let's go ahead and program this puppy and see how it works. So let's put the list box into perspective. I've got a form up here right now, and you can change Listbox by looking at the common controls, and it's sitting right over here. So I'll double click on it and bring Listbox forward and bring it to the. Should be able to move it. Yeah, I can move it very easily like this, and I can stretch it out and make it any size I'd like. And it has some properties associated with it. It's got a bunch of things. I'm going to actually go ahead and put some things into this collection that I have here. So I'm looking at the properties right now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the Listbox to give it a name, so I can use it in code. It comes up Listbox 1. I'll call it LBX for Listbox, and I'll call it Movies. That's going to give it a title that I can actually refer to in code if I want to actually work with this thing. Listbox Movies right there. And then if I want to, you can use the Listbox and add items to it, or you can actually go down to the collection and actually insert things right into it. So if I pop down in here and look at the collection property, I can double click on it, and it lifts us a form right here and allows me to pepper this thing with a bunch of things. And I happen to have a notepad file sitting over on the side here, which I'll bring forward real quickly so you can see it. It's basically got a bunch of movies in it. I'm going to bring all these movies in it because I want to kind of bring all in so you can see the size that it can actually take. It's not an entire collection, but it's got a few, and I'll just copy paste them right into here. So now they're sitting in there. I can say OK to this thing, and it peppers them into here. And so now, without writing any code, I can literally, I'll do a file save on this program, so I've got it handy, and then I'll run it. And when it comes up, you're going to see that here it is, here's the form. I can have access to all of the items in the form. There is a scroll bar on the end here. I can scroll through here very easily. You step down, pull it down all the way to the bottom, bring it all the way back up. So all these things are there. I can also select any of these items. I can grab, there's Battle Circle. I'll click on this, and that item gets selected. That's going to cause me to obtain the index that this one's associated with, like we saw on the slide before. There's an index number of 0 through whatever number you actually have out there. So this gives the ability to actually pick that thing. Once you've got that index picked, you can literally use it to do something with the data that's inside this particular line item. Like what I can do is basically I can go ahead and create a label on this form. Let's go ahead and kill this form once. And let's go ahead and put a label on this thing. And we'll go out to our toolbox. And let's grab a label. And let's size this label real quickly. Let's make it as large as the list box. We'll auto size, turn that off so we can kind of size it. We'll click on this first, then we'll click on the label itself, and I will format and make the same size for as far as the width goes. And then I'll also line them. Align their centers. So now they're sitting one on top of the other. So I've got the list box right here. I'm also going to give it a border style real quickly, fixed single, and that's probably all I need here. I don't need I have to give it a name. So I'm going to give it a label out. We'll call it. I think that's always a good name to give it, because I want to put something out on here. And then I'm going to clear the label 1 name from this property, so it's sitting right here. And this is basically a list box. And I'm going to actually write some code in here where I can click at anything here and bring that label down to this particular piece right here. So how I do that is basically I double click on the list box itself. And by doing that, it brings up the selected index changed object. And all I have to write down here is say LBX out. I'm sorry, not listbox out. Listbox movies, I should say. No, I want to say LBL. Label out dot text is equal to LBX movies dot selected item selected item, not items. There we go. Item to string. And that's all I need to write based on that. So let's take a look what happens here. Do a file save all. and do a start. Program comes up. My movies are still showing that. Again, I can scroll wherever I want on here. Here's Born to Kill. I'll click on that, and the name 1974 Born to Kill pops up. It grabs both of these things and brings them together. The reason you're seeing this concatenation and this disappearing here is based on the way this is set up in the notepad file. There's basically nothing here. It's concatenating both those two and bringing it all together into the one field. You could certainly make the separate list boxes with the date, with the year, and the movie itself, and then bring them in like this. So I can click on another one, the Body Snatcher. It pops up. So every time I click on something, something else comes up here. Very first one. And it shows up. The Bandit of Sherwood Forest, and so on the line. So that's how that particular piece works. Now, what I can also do with this particular thing is I can go ahead and create an add button and a text box button. So I'm going to go ahead to the form here, and I'm going to make a text box sitting up here. Grab a text box, put it on the form, and like this, we're going to size it just like the label we did. Make the width the same size. I'm going to call this particular thing, this text box is going to be called text add. So let's call this thing, let's click on just it. You can give it a name of txt add. Now I can refer to that thing in code using that particular name. I also want to create a button, an add button here. So I'm going to grab a button here, put the button down here, and we'll call this an add button, btn add. And we'll also give it a name of add ADD, and there it is. And we can actually write code for this add button so that it can do something. And I'm not going to write any error checking on this thing. I'm just going to put it in here as is so we can see the functionality of the list box itself. So I'll double click on the add button, and it creates an event, a button add click event. All I'm going to do here is say LBX movies dot items dot add, and I'm going to say txt add dot text. This is going to grab the text box, or the data that's in the text box, and add it to the list box. So let's go ahead and save this. We'll do a start on it. There it is. Okay, we'll bring it up like this. I'll type in, let's see, what's a good movie? Let's say Halloween. We'll simply put it up in the text box up here. I'll do an add, and it didn't clear or anything because I didn't write any code to do that. All I simply did was code the button to add this to the list box. If I browse this list box all the way down now, you'll see that Halloween was added to the list box itself on the very, very bottom, given that index name and given down there. I can clear this and put in something else. I might want to put a date in here. Let's put in 2023, give it a couple of spaces so it kind of lines up the way we're seeing something else. So let's call this My Next Movie. And go ahead and hit add. And if you go down, you scroll down, you can see that it's been labeled in here. And then took the functionality of the spaces and popped it in there, as we see over here. So that's how you actually do it. Now, we couldn't possibly, if I close this thing down and then bring it up again, let's go ahead and run it again. Let's stop our debugging here. Now we're all ready to start. Okay, let's go ahead and start that. If we bring it up again, It's not there. The data is not there. It wiped it out. We need to save this somehow out to a text file or something of that nature, and then bring it back in when we actually wanted to use it. But this does show you the fact that the list box is nothing more than a bunch of items that has an index associated with it, and you can very easily add items to that index, or you can simply bring it in through the properties by copying and pasting a bunch of text into it. But the real thing I want to get across to you here in this particular section is that this is a decision. The user has the ability to click on something and move it into this bottom feature right here, Cactus Rover. Let's add our 2023 movie again, My Next Movie. I hit add, and then let's scroll down to the bottom down there and click on My Next Movie, and it functionally moves down to the label. So that's really what I'm trying to get across here, is you're giving the user a chance to make decisions on the data that's inside this list box. That's really what it's all about. So that's basically an introduction to the list box. You've seen how we can add items to a list box and how the user can actually select an item in the list box. There's much more you can do with it. You can delete items. You can clear the whole list. You can insert items into a specific location in the list. And you can replace items in the list with a different item. These are all things we'll do in the future. Right now, I wanted you to see how the list box works so we can use it when exploring two other visual decision objects, the radio buttons and the checkbox. For now, what you need to take out of this video is the list box is an object that can store many items. Each item is assigned an index. Users can select any item in the list. Based on the selected item, an action can be generated. See you next time. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, please subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.